Hi guys, today I'm going to tick off one of the goals on my Depth Year 2019 and I'm going to take you through the tarot deck that I had created. In my previous video I mentioned that I would be using found images, so this would be a pop culture deck, and I know there are different schools of thought on this. I believe that if you are using a found image for your own personal use and that it holds a deep or specific meaning for you, and you are not trying to profit from it or distribute it, for example, I do believe that it is something that is okay to use. I know there are some people out there that believe that if the image is not yours and you don't have any permission to use it, then you never should. I otherwise wouldn't have the skill to be able to design these cards, and this series is something that has a special meaning for me, and I am deeply connected to it, so that is the reason I chose to bring them into existence. So the series I'm talking about, if you don't recognize this image, is The Witcher. The Witcher was originally a Polish book series by Andrzej Sapkowski and was later picked up by a gaming studio at CK Project Red and turned into 3 PC games. I originally played the first one and proceeded to play number 2 and 3 as they came out. That was my first introduction to this series of The Witcher. I've never read the Polish books or their English translations. They have now become popularized as well since the games have been released. But if you don't know much about the series, it's loosely based on a monster hunter named Geralt, who is trained from a young age, as all of his brothers in arms are, to rid the world of monsters. And so he basically roams across the lands, taking on contracts to rid, villages and towns and forests and things from monsters. And then, in addition to that sort of quite small focus, you then become embroiled in like different countries' conflicts and the plight of non-humans and all things like that. So it also has a very broad world and depth into it as well. Anyway, so the reason so most of these images came from exactly the same place, and I will link to that below. In the series of The Witcher, there is a card game that can be played that features in a number of quests, but it actually has become its own spin-off, so you can literally just go and play this card game, and that card game is called Gwent. It's not something I was ever super interested in when playing The Witcher, but they have done a lot of artwork for releasing this Gwent card game. So this is where a lot of the images come from, and a lot of the images that feature on the cards are different characters from the books and the computer games. So that's where I've got it from. So the backs, let's get into it. The backs are all the same. I used a website which is well known for making card decks, and I uploaded the images that I wanted to use and got them printed and shipped to me. Now, there are a few mistakes I've noticed in this deck since I have flicked through it. I've chosen not to get it reprinted. It just goes to show that no one is perfect, and it reminds me of my imperfection and imperfection as a human, I suppose. So I'm choosing not to actually get it reprinted. I'm not going to go and point out specifically the errors in the cards. I've noticed a couple, but of course as I go through, if you spot them, I'm sure you'll have a laugh to yourself. So this deck is only comprised of the major arcana, which was something that I chose to do for specific readings. So let's start going through them. So that was the major arcana that I created for myself. You can see two specific examples here, the Death card and the Devil card. I didn't set out to have them portray something extremely dark. It's just the nature of the PC and the book series. It is quite a dark series, so I do still feel that these images suit the energies of the card themselves, and am just going to take into consideration that this is, I suppose, a little bit more of a fantasy slash horror deck potentially, so a little bit more macabre than normal. So in addition, I got some cards printed that were not part of the tarot deck, so I had a certain number of cards that I needed to print in order to be able to get them printed. So these were just additional cards where I really enjoyed the imagery, or I liked the particular characters, and I did make an effort not to feature the extremely, or most of the extremely main characters in my tarot deck, just because I didn't want that distraction or that energy there. So most of them I have deliberately not put into the major arcana. So these were the additional cards that I had printed. Ones that I liked that maybe potentially didn't fit into a particular card's energy, or for example this one here is Geralt of Rivia, the main character in the series, and I did not want him as one of the characters in the major arcana. Another major character from Witcher 2 that I didn't want to feature in the major arcana. And the last one, the same again. So I hope you found this video interesting. If you love The Witcher, like I love The Witcher, then I hope you found this entertaining. For the tarot readers out there, I hope you had a bit of a laugh at the mistakes in my deck. I certainly had a bit of a laugh when I saw them, when I did spot them. It did take me a while to spot one of them actually. I'm a bit embarrassed to say. I really enjoyed the process. I enjoyed, and I think the process was enriching for me from a tarot perspective, because I'm quite new to reading the tarot, and having to think about the energy or the meaning of particular cards, and then go and find imagery that would support it or relate that particular meaning of the card, did take some time and effort. And I did have a lot of images there that I went through and discarded, and there were some cards there that I really wanted to assign them particular meaning, but they just didn't fit. So I found it a really valuable exercise in really connecting with the major arcana and the themes of each of the cards, because it was a pretty intense focus in order to get the entire arcana filled with cards that I thought were representative of their energy and their meanings. So it is something I would recommend that people maybe have a go and try and see if it's something that works for them, and think about maybe the images that really speak to them, because maybe The Witcher is not your thing, but it's something that really it's been with me for a number of years, so it's something that has a really deep meaning for me. So as I said, this deck I will not be sharing with anyone. I will not be reprinting this deck, and this deck is for my personal use only. So I hope you found this video interesting or useful, and I will see you in another video.